It started in the kind of courtroom where everything smells like old wood and quiet power. The kind of place you can almost hear the walls judging you before a word is spoken. On the table in front of everyone sat a plastic bag of white powder edges curled just so like someone wanted it to look dirty lived in. Across from that bag sat Elise Carter. She was 32, black with a face that could stay unreadable under any storm, back straight, hands folded. Around her, a room full of strangers had already decided who she was. They saw a defendant, not a woman. They saw a bag, not a setup. The prosecutor was smiling. The cops who arrested her were whispering, and the jury, well, the jury wasn't even trying to hide it. When the judge asked how she pled, Elise's voice stayed calm. "Not guilty, Your Honor. That bag was planted." A little chuckle from the gallery. One juror shook his head. Officer Shane Mallory leaned toward his partner and muttered, "Bet she still thinks she's smarter than us." His partner Javier Ortiz didn't respond, just tapped his foot like he'd been doing all day. Elise didn't blink. Inside, though, she was rehearsing every second of the night that brought her here. 3 weeks earlier, she was driving home from Dulles in a charcoal gray sedan, windows down, hair tied back, wearing jeans and a soft blouse. She'd just finished a long overseas assignment, no badge, no backup, just another night in an empty stretch of road. In the mirror headlights. Too close. She slowed, signaled perfectly, stayed within the speed limit. Lights flashed red and blue. She pulled over, hands on the wheel, posture calm. This wasn't her first rodeo. "License and registration," Mallory said, flashlight bouncing off her cheekbones. His voice was flat, but his eyes already had a verdict. "May I ask why I was stopped?" she asked. "You rolled a stop sign," he said. She hadn't. He knew she hadn't. She handed over her papers anyway. Ortiz circled the car like he was casing a crime scene. "Step out of the vehicle," Mallory said. "Is there a reason?" Elise asked. No answer, just repetition. She stepped out. Mallory ducked under the window and disappeared. Ortiz told her to stand still. A beat later, Mallory's voice from the back of the car. "Well, look what we have here." He held up a plastic bag. Elise felt her stomach drop, not in fear for, but fury. "That's not mine," she snapped. Mallory raised his eyebrows. "You accusing an officer of planting evidence? I'm stating a fact," she said. "That bag wasn't in my car." "Turn around," Ortiz barked. "I do not consent to this search," Elise said, her voice loud enough for the neighbors to hear. "Turn around," Mallory repeated. Cuffs snapped cold. Someone across the street peeked out from behind a curtain. Ortiz patted her down, his hands lingering too long. She stared straight ahead. Mallory keyed his radio, "Black female narcotics possession requesting backup." At the station, they processed her like a number. Phone bagged, purse tagged, no phone call. She stayed quiet, filed everything away. Badge numbers, timestamps, the angle of the cruiser's dash cam, the neighbors' houses with ring cameras. On the surface, she looked defeated. In reality, she was calculating trajectories. Bail came from a woman in a green trench coat she called Aunt Rosa, but Rosa wasn't her aunt. She was a logistics officer from the agency Clean, Cover Clean, car flash drive, hidden in the lining of a purse they never searched. Back at her apartment, Elise pressed her thumb to a hidden panel. The wall clicked and a narrow room came alive, screens, drives, encrypted channels. She called Morgan, her off-book analyst. "Pull everything on Mallory and Ortiz," she said. "Personnel, files, complaint, histories, neighborhood cams, anything at Timberline and Westfield around 10:15 Thursday night." Morgan already had fingers flying across the keyboard. "Give me 24 hours, she said. "Less," Elise replied. While the county thought it had another easy case, Elise was lining up witnesses' footage and patterns. Morgan found a doorbell cam showing Mallory reaching into his pocket, pulling the bag, leaning into the car. Another angle from a small grocery store caught the cruiser tailing her. A third source, somebody inside Internal Affairs, had been quietly watching Mallory and Ortiz for months. Elise wasn't just defending herself now. She was exposing a machine. The preliminary hearing was a formality. The state played edited dash cam footage that started only after Mallory's discovery. Both officers claimed technical issues with their body cams. The judge let it proceed to trial. Elise and her attorney, Leon Brooks, walked out knowing they'd lost round one on purpose. By the time the trial started, the courtroom was packed. Journalists lined the back row. Community leaders and law students filled the gallery. Mallory and Ortiz sat behind the prosecutor wearing their uniforms like armor. The prosecutor held up the bag of cocaine as if it were a trophy. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is a simple case," he said. Elise stayed still, tapping a slow rhythm on her skirt like a countdown. Leon's cross-examination was surgical. "Officer Mallory, when did you activate your body cam?" "As I exited the vehicle," Mallory said. "But the footage begins 2 minutes later." Leon said, "Technical issue, yes. Do you often experience technical issues?" "Rarely." He turned to Ortiz. "Same questions, same answers. Seems like quite the coincidence," Leon said quietly. Objection. Sustained, but the jury had heard it. Then came the turn. Leon plugged in a flash drive. "Your Honor," he said, "the defense would like to submit additional video evidence from an independent traffic camera." The screen flickered to life. Elise's car turning, signaling, stopping. Cruiser behind, no sirens. Mallory approaching, Ortiz moving behind. Mallory circling to the rear, hand in his right pocket, pulling something white, leaning into the car. The jury gasped. Mallory's jaw tightened. Ortiz looked down. "Pause there," Leon said. "What is Officer Mallory doing?" Silence. Leon clicked to the next clip, a civilian phone, shaky but close, capturing audio. Elise's voice calm and sharp. "That's not mine. You just planted that." Mallory's voice answering. The courtroom was stone quiet except for the sound of breathing. And then Elise stood, Leon's voice steady. "Your Honor, the defense would like to reclassify Ms. Carter's testimony not as a defendant, but as an expert witness. Ms. Carter is a senior field officer with the Central Intelligence Agency." A ripple went through the courtroom. Even the judge's glasses slipped a little. Elise took the oath and sat at the stand, eyes level. She spoke softly, like someone telling a truth they had held too long. "In my role," she said, "I specialize in anti-corruption investigations in field security. My vehicle has 6 hidden cameras, 2 encrypted recorders, and a real-time backup to a secure server. I didn't identify myself the night I was arrested because I wanted to see what happens when you don't have rank or title or backup. I needed to feel it. I needed to know." You could feel the air shift. Mallory went pale. Ortiz stared at the floor. The judge leaned forward. Leon asked one last question. "Agent Carter, what do you believe this case represents?" Elise looked at the jury. "As long as the system assumes guilt based on skin and credibility, based on uniform, it's not justice, it's performance. And we all know it." Court recessed for lunch. When they came back, Ortiz walked to the witness stand under a subpoena from the defense. Voice low but steady, he said, "The arrest of Ms. Carter was not lawful." A gasp. "Why did you go along with it?" Leon asked. Ortiz swallowed. "Because that's how we've always done it. You pull over a car that doesn't fit the neighborhood, you look for an opening, and if you don't find one, you make one. I was part of that." He named supervisors. He described quotas-coded language performance bonuses. Mallory exploded, shouting across the courtroom. "You knew exactly what we were doing. You picked the targets." Bailiffs restrained him. His words hung in the air like smoke. The sentencing months later was almost anticlimactic. Mallory stood in a federal courtroom, suit hanging off him like a costume from another life, hearing 22 years, no parole for evidence, tampering, obstruction of justice, perjury, and retaliation against a federal agent. Ortiz got 7 years and mandatory testimony for cooperation. The prosecutor was suspended. Captains resigned or were intercepted at airports. Files shredded mid-stack were seized. A federal investigation opened into the entire department. 33 convictions under review. A victim justice fund created. Elise stayed mostly out of the spotlight. She helped shape new oversight protocols behind closed doors. She visited the first claimants personally, men and women who had lost years to false charges. One older man told her, "No one's ever apologized. But this feels close." She sat with him for 2 hours. No cameras, just bad coffee and stories. A year later, Elise stood at the window of her office at the new Domestic Integrity Reform Unit, rain streaking the glass, the city humming below. On her desk, a framed clipping, all charges dropped. Not pride, just a reminder of what justice costs when you wear it too close to your skin. She still visited neighborhoods like the one where it all started. She still sat across from mothers and teenagers who asked her, How do you keep going when nobody believed you? And she'd say, they didn't have to believe me. I just had to keep telling the truth. And if your voice shakes, that's how they know it matters. That's the story of how a woman everyone dismissed as just another defendant dismantled a system from the inside out without raising her voice, only her evidence. What about you? Have you ever watched someone get judged before they had a chance to speak? Do you think the badge always tells the truth? Or is it time to question who gets believed and who doesn't? Drop a comment, tell your story, and if you believe silence is no longer an option, share this video and subscribe because this fight isn't over and the next voice might be yours.